There are a lot of face expressions that you can do in Rec Room, and while you can access most of them in the emotes menu, there are a few secret ones that some people might not know about, whether that be because they're only easily available on certain platforms, or that they only appear for a few seconds after doing another face expression. Today I'm going to be talking about some of these secret emotes and how you can obtain them for pictures or just for fun, but before I talk about that, I want to talk about two things. One, if you enjoy this video, then please consider supporting me by going to my profile at HeyWerewolf and pressing the big support button. I'm currently trying to get the video partner hoodie, so I would really appreciate it. And second, there's a feature that involves emotes in Rec Room that you might not know about that I think is pretty important to talk about first. As you can see from this picture, this is what the blank stare emote looks like for the default mouth and eyes, and this is what the blank stare emote looks like for the mouth and eyes that I use, and as you can see, they are completely different. And this applies to a lot of the emotes in Rec Room, including some of the ones that I talk about in this video. So keep in mind that since I use the regular default face to show off these face expressions, they could look completely different for you depending on what your face looks like in Rec Room. With that being said though, let's first talk about two emotes that I think most people know about by now, the shocked and sleeping emotes. There are currently two ways to see these emotes. The first one is to simply be on screen mode, since they just straight up appear in the emote menu, unlike in VR. However, there is a second way to get these emotes on VR, and it's simply just to put your headset down and go AFK. While you're AFK, your character will be doing the sleeping emote because, well, they're sleeping. And when you get back, your character will do the shocked emote for a few seconds because, well, you woke them up, come on. Both of these emotes are technically available on all devices. However, there are two emotes that aren't in the emote wheel at all, but are still available on every device. And this is because something has to happen for these emotes to appear. The first one is this kissing emote, and this emote appears when you get too close in someone's face. So the next time you get all up in someone's personal space and start screaming at them, just know your character is most likely making out with them. The next is the dead face, and this appears whenever you just straight up get smacked by someone, which is kind of funny. Like I said before, you can get these emotes on any device. However, there are a few emotes that were only on one device, your phone, but they have since been deleted. You see, at one point, Rec Room had this feature called AR mode, which was only available on certain phone devices, and it pretty much allowed you to have face tracking in Rec Room, and this led to a bunch of face expressions being available for these players, including these faces that you normally can't get. However, AR mode has since been removed, and it will most likely never come back, so unless they decide to implement face tracking for VR users, we may never see these emotes being used again. Some emotes you are able to see though are the face expressions that show up for a few seconds when doing other emotes. You see, some of the emotes in Rec Room have face animations for when they're about to start or stop the emote, and a lot of them look really good for pictures, so here are all the ones that I've been able to find. First, we got the squiggly face, which you might have seen in a lot of Rec Room thumbnails, and it appears in the first second of the puking emote. Next, we got what I'm dubbing as the worried face, which looks exactly the same as the squiggly face except for different eyes, and it appears for a few seconds after the squiggly face appears in the puking emote. And since we're talking about the puking emote a lot, let's just go ahead and talk about this face, which I don't know what to call, and it appears for a few seconds after the puking emote is done. Next, we got the angry face with the closed mouth, and this also appears for a few seconds after an emote is done, except this time it's for, you guessed it, the angry emote. Next, we got the sweating face without the sweat, which I'm dubbing the really happy face, and while you think this emote appears in the sweating emote, it actually doesn't. It appears in the first few seconds of the silly and laughing emotes. Next, we got what I'm dubbing as the scared emote, and this appears in the first second of the crying emote. Speaking of the crying emote, next we got two variants of, well, the crying emote, and they both appear after the crying emote is done. Finally, we got the blank stare emote with a smaller mouth, and this appears in the first second of the teeth out emote.